You know, I'll probably try to record this about 8 times already, try not to make it too long. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. The blackest hearted man on social media is signing black in and shining again. Asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. Gamechanger had a chance to tell his side of the story again yesterday when I was on the live stream with him, and I'd heard it directly from his mouth, and I'm glad I did. What this does is it gives me a chance to tell the ones that wanted to go in on him why they really should have kept their mouths shut. The charge was that he was simping for a foreign woman and being all hardcore and red pill with the Western woman. I'm not saying you should simp for a foreign woman, but you should always be hardcore red pill when you're dealing with Western women until she doesn't provoke that stuff. So she develops a history of not provoking it. And if you lighten up a little bit and then she makes you regret that, then you go right back to where you were with her. Okay, bitch. Here's a strong pimp hand you need, or bye-bye, bitch. Either one of the two. Now, I don't argue about whether all women are like that or not. I don't really know. I don't think that they all are. But what it does matter to me is that you know what to do for everyone that is like that. That does matter. And then at that point, you're either going to put that strong pimp hand on all of them or leave all of them, or you're going to leave the ones that act like this. Either way it goes, you know what to do. Then it doesn't matter if they're all like that or not. You just replace them again and again and again until you get the one that isn't. And if none of them are like that, you always replace them. And they start learning that lesson. If we don't act a certain way, we'll always be left and replaced. That's what it is. Now, nobody said anything about fornication being wrong or right. So this means that those who went in on him can't say anything about the fact that he fornicated. That means that they're going to have to find something else, and there is really nothing else. Now, as a Muslim, I'm not allowed to justify fornication under any circumstance like this. So I'm not going to. I'm simply saying that because many of you don't have a rule that fornication is wrong, you're going to have to find something else about which to go in on Gamechanger. And there's nothing. Gamechanger actually beat some of you coaches at your own game. So you coaches, you super alphas that want us to keep our dinglings limited to the Western ratchet, forgot something. We're not playing on a level field. Whether it is basketball, soccer, or football to which you want to compare this game, the field is uphill on their side and downhill on ours. For them to score is easy. Some of that you may say is nature because we give up peanuts too easy. Some of that is also social and legal. Whatever the case is, they're difficult, we're not difficult enough. That right there causes the imbalance. The whole society is built on that imbalance, but they demand that the playing field be level. You wanted Gamechanger to stay in the West and do all he could for the Western woman, but you wanted to deny right off the bat. You wanted to say that it is not true that the woman there would appreciate what he did more than the woman in the United States. No, nigga, that was true. Now that he told his side of the story, it all makes sense. She saved him money. He was already smashing. She did not ask for the stove. It benefited him for the time he was there. Because now what happens? She cooks while he's there. Now they save on food. He spent $200 on the stove, but apparently he didn't have any other big expenditures to make the whole time. Do you understand now how he actually came out ahead? If he didn't have to stay in a hotel because he was staying with her and he was digging her out, that means he didn't have to pay some other woman. He gets a stove. Now all they got to do is get groceries, and she's saving the money on groceries because they're not giving him the gringo prices. Do you get it? Now that we know this, it makes perfect sense. What are you niggas mad about, you coaches? He went where the playing field was actually level. You would say, no, the playing field wasn't level between him and other guys. Nigga, it's not about that. It's about whether the playing field is level between him and the women. We men generally tend to play more fairly with each other than the women play with either one of us. Evidenced by you not supporting this guy even though he wasn't wrong. He didn't get fleeced. Apparently she has a child. We're talking about a single mother. That still makes her better than, she's still better than the Western woman. And I'm going to tell you guys something that's going to really bake your noodles, you coaches. And I hope this burns you up, because it should. I myself, with my morality, well, I'm not going to say that I'm moral, but I, with my moral code, my moral limits, have relaxed the requirements and standards for non-Western women. Why? Because they relaxed them. When I marry a non-Western woman that is either skinnier or bigger than I would tolerate in a Western woman, I'm doing it because she is also going to not make me, she's not going to abuse me in any way, form, or fashion because of a normal human flaw or weakness of my own. If I tick 6 out of 8 boxes, I'm a good catch. So therefore, I count her as a good catch if she ticks 6 out of 8 boxes for me. So what I'm telling you is that I'm simply playing the game as it is played. When I'm there in the West, no, you have to have a porn star body. I'm Muslim now, but I remember what porn stars looked like before I became Muslim. You got to have one of them bodies. Why? Because even if I don't bring one of those bodies, and yet I'm in good shape, fortunately, alhamdulillah. Even if I didn't bring one of those bodies, the fact is I still have to do and be and have so much more than you just to get you. So to balance that out, you have to have a body better than mine, because I got to have a bigger wallet than you, more education. I got to be taller than you, smarter than you, physically stronger than you, older than you. You're literally bringing nothing but ass and tits, so you better bring a hell of a pair of titties and a hell of an ass. It better jiggle just right. You better not bring a big old midsection with it either. And I don't pull out. You take this to the cervix, and don't give me no stress about it afterwards. And it better not stink. So by simply playing the game the way that they play it, I get to be much nicer outside of the West. What does that tell you? That tells you that they're different outside of the West, and a lot of you coaches want to sit up here and talk about female nature and how it's universal, but you don't want to talk about the difference in the cultures that actually make them better outside the West. I'm going to tell you something. I used to wonder, okay, what skill do these guys have that are so super select? Now I understand it. I get it now. Now that I know Gamechanger side of the story and I've thought about it, something went off in my head. I've always said that you guys that are super select and you can be a dating coach, I've always said that you do have some skill that can make women happy, and that is to be envied. I mean, it can be useful. It's just that we can't sit up here and apply all this for the Western woman. I realize now, actually, something's wrong with you niggas. You're deformed. You may not be socially awkward, but you niggas are deformed somehow. You know how I know? Because you keep on saying that the women outside of the West are no different than the women in the West. Oh, I beg to differ. The women outside the West are different from each other. They are varied, but that's just it. They're varied. They're different from each other. There's a mix of them. In the West, you don't have that much of a mix. In the West, the ratchet, wicked witch, she predominates. The ones of them that are not ratchet, they still have another problem. If they're not taken, but they're not ratchet, then they still are victims of the socialization to over-assess themselves and everything they bring to the table. So in other words, if you want to compare how much money she's bringing and how much money you're bringing, she counts every one of her dollars like it's 2 times every one of yours. So if you're bringing the same amount of money into the marriage, she's still acting like she brought in twice as much, even though she's not ratchet. She may be a good woman in every other way, but her self-assessment is still affected by the socialization, and her assessment of you is still affected by the socialization. So she may be a good woman, but she still views herself as better than you, and that will always be the problem. You guys haven't addressed that. Why is that? What are you niggas hiding? I mean, I'm over here, I already know. No, these Eastern women are better than Western women. If they don't like you here, they just don't marry you. And they don't bother you afterwards, call you up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. I need you to come change my tire, waking you up for no reason, and you ain't gonna get the draws. They don't do that. Y'all ain't married, y'all ain't married. If you bump into each other, just, okay, how you doing? Assalamu alaikum, that's it. It's better here than it is over there. Over there, you know what the game is. She's effing you. If you're actually one of those guys she's screwing you. Then she calls somebody else up to change the tire when she's on her way home from that dick appointment with you and the tire bust. She knows if she called you, you wouldn't do it. You might say, well, you know, you young guys don't know how to change a tire. Nigga, you don't have to know how to change a tire. That's the difference. If we know how to change the tires, it still doesn't help us with them. That's it, because they're just simply looking to eliminate most men anyway. Their goal is to simply sexually eliminate most men. If more of you guys in the West start to meet these standards that the women have, then it's not going to improve your chances and your odds. It's simply going to cause them to move the goalpost so that only the same percentage of you would still be eligible as before. Because what are muscles if every man has them? That's all. Every man's in the gym, guess what? Only 15% of the guys that go to the gym are going to be eligible for them, for all the women. It's not going to change in the West because the issue is them, not you, not us, I should say. But because you're willing to cater to that, the issue now becomes you. And I'm not against gym membership. I now realize something about you coaches. We're not wrong because we tell you that we need to leave the West, even though not all of the non-West is the exact same. We're not wrong for telling you that because, like I said, at least it's a mixture when you get out the West. You niggas are wrong because you are not telling the guys back in the West that if they made all of these self-improvements that you recommend, the only women that would be worth these self-improvements are not in the West. Yeah. Why aren't you telling them this? Because some of you guys have experience living or working or visiting abroad. Some of you guys have been other places and you've seen how different they act. Or you've seen the mixed bag you might get. The good and the bad being, you know, in the same area, whereas in the West it's pretty much all bad. Why aren't you telling them this? Why is it that when they do call you to do these consultations, you put them on hold, then you get back and you start interrupting them all, and just to tear them down, you interrupt them? I heard one of you niggas do it, and I actually talked to somebody that was a former client of yours, and he said you did the same thing. He said that before I heard you do it. So you confirmed what he said, one of you. And in all honesty, I find it funny because where you live, I already know. Usually women look at a guy like you and assume that he's not even into men. Not that you're not. I mean, they assume that he's not even into women. And you may be, I'm not saying that you are not into. I actually think that you prefer women, to be honest with you. You know who I'm talking to. The problem is that in the city in which you live, I already know those women are sitting up here looking at guys, and every man is a suspect. So when you take into account your willingness to pay attention to your details, they use that and say, oh, that's a sign he's suspect. I'm not saying they let you get away with not caring about those things. I'm saying that if you do care about them, that's a sign against you too. It's always something against you. If you guys were really honest, you would be telling these gentlemen here, you can afford to learn these things, but once you do and have and be all of this stuff, you ain't gonna find somebody worth it in the West, because she'll never do and have and be the same things in exchange. You're still not willing to address the Lois Lane syndrome of the women to whom you're trying to feed these men. Therein lies the difference. I am not dealing with Lois Lane syndrome here. And I'm married to a woman that spent half her childhood in the United States. She came to me today As nice as she is to look at, I'm not allowed to show a picture, don't ask, but as nice as she is to look at, she came to me this morning and showed me the results to prove that she was losing weight, even though I did not request this of her. Now, if I'm going to go to the gym, she's worth it. If I'm going to walk a kilometer every day, that's someone that's worth it. My health is also worth it, so I already do these things. I don't walk a kilometer every day, but I'm saying I do look after myself. But if I'm going to do more than what I'm doing now somebody's worth it, because she's doing the same thing. And she even said to me, the thing is, you deserve a hot wife. So she's somewhat underestimating how hot she already is, but she's saying you deserve a hot wife. You've looked after yourself and you've looked after me, not meaning physically per se, but I mean, she means I've looked after her as a husband would look after a wife. I would never find this in the West, guaranteed. If a woman simply had as gorgeous a face, as cute a face as she has, she would tell me, Blackheart, you take me as I am, but you need to get out there and go to the gym. And you know doggone well that's the case. Why are you not telling these guys this? MOT was right, you coaches. MOT and Gamechanger are right. They do appreciate what we do more outside of the West in general. And MOT is right that he needs to go after your businesses and shut them down. Take away your client base, remove the demand. They're absolutely right. If you would simply tell these guys, number one, what you did not know before is not your fault. Men have been deceived by women. Even women have been deceived to a certain extent, but you men have been deceived by women, and you're not to blame for what you did not know before. And you were to say to them, if you do what I say, things could get easier, but the ones that are actually worth it don't usually live in Western countries. Then I would take my hands up and say, I'm not going after it. I'm not going after the business. No. What do you porch monkeys want to do? Tell these men to work on a dom game. Maintain frame at all times. You're telling them things that actually do help out to a certain extent, but you're not telling them where to find the ones that are actually worth it. You're not saying to them, when you do these things, you're going to see that these bitches over here ain't worth it in the West, but you get a passport and you're more likely to find the women that are worth what you're doing anyway. No, you're keeping them in the dark. Now, let's examine the motives that anybody would have for something like that. Number one, you're aware that you've been at this restaurant eating steak, grilled vegetables, and the desserts, and you ain't been presented with the bill or the full bill. You're aware, many of you that are insisting upon men not moving to greener pastures are aware that they are actually overpaying for their little hamburgers and fries and ketchup so that you can eat the steak and the grilled veggies and the mashed potatoes and the dessert and wash it down with the drink of your choice for free or for a lower price. You're aware that they've actually been footing the bill for what you've been enjoying. Or the other possibility is you want someone else to raise your kids, or both. Let's just sweep one under the other then. Let's put it like that. Somewhere down the line, you are aware that you have not been paying the full bill for what you have consumed. And you think it's our job to do it. I can't think of any other motive. You could say, well, you know, it's my business and my business is in the West. Take your business with us to the East. Go ahead. You see, at that point, you have to become a matchmaker, and that's different. And you know it. But we have to be honest. The fact that you exist as a business only comes after people in the cultures in which you can operate themselves have said that the culture is morally bankrupt and unsustainable. Your very existence is a sign of the end. I hope that one day what I say is no longer true. In the meantime, I hope it helps even you. It's the blackest man on social media. Signing black out. Assalamu alaikum in black male power just because Boom Shika don't like it.